That's how I'm able to be here with you today. However, that will change next semester. My schedule will flip-flop. I'll be on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and off Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I want to start with a small story. How did I get into math? There was a time when I actually hated math, okay? It was 7th grade. My parents decided we're going to move from a low-performing school to a high-performing school. What does that mean? That means easy math becomes hard math. Are you with me? Easy math becomes hard math, okay? My parents moved to a new school district, which was predominantly Caucasian. What does that mean? Where I was ahead in my low-performing school, I was now behind in my high-performing school. So I spent many days and many nights in tears at home because I could not understand the math that everybody else seemed to understand. Why? I didn't have all the tools that I needed to be successful. So, enters my father, who happens to be a military man, and he is up 5, 6 o'clock in the morning every day going to work. So I talked to him about this issue with math. I said, Dad, I'm having issues, and I'm not passing my classes, especially this math class. I'm having the hardest time understanding, and everybody else gets it but me. So he came up with this wonderful plan. He said, well, here's the deal. I get up every morning at 6 a.m. Why don't you get up at the same time I do? Well, that wasn't going to work out. Well, you have to remember the type of father that I have, he speaks a whole lot louder than me. He can speak from here, and I can hear him in the parking lot. So every morning at 6 a.m., I was up when he was up. He came up with a plan to put me in tutoring in the morning time while everybody else was on the bus. Okay? We have now moved to this new area. I am now in tutoring for math that everybody else understands but me. That went on for a whole year. Every single Monday through Friday. I had no option because my parents stressed excellence. So from that first year, I was able to bring my grades up from a D to a C. C's are normally not allowed in my parents' household, but because I alerted them to the situation, my father said I'll allow that one C, but next year there will be no C's. So we started the plan all over again. Year 2, I'm getting some of the concepts. It's starting to click. After that first semester, my C went to a B. And then my mind started to click even more. Somebody has tricked me to think that math can only be done one way. Well, as it turns out, the wheels started turning. And I started to realize I could do math this way, even though my teacher taught me that way, and I can still get the same answer. I came up with teachers who knew just that one way, so I was able to open their minds to the possibility that a person who came into this district with a D, who now has a B, understands how to do math better than they do. Challenges in STEM. I got into math on accident, if you will. My father coached me through this process. I now have a PhD in math. That's 10 years of schooling, so I could come here, so I can go to EKU, so that everybody can call me Dr. Davis. That path was long. It was hard. In college, the math got even harder because now enters calculus. All the symbols are there. There's no numbers. What just happened here? I struggled, but I realized that math was my thing. And before I let it go, I was going to get it, and I was going to do it well. After I finished my bachelor's degree, I realized, you know what? If I want to teach this at the college level, this was in 2004, I need a master's degree. I went to school for a master's degree. I went to Wayne State University for 16 months to complete a master's. That was in 2007 when I finished. But guess what? In academia, when the standards change, you got to change with it. Remember I said in 2004, I had to have a master's to do this job. In 2007, the standards raised to a PhD. So what does that mean? I now have to invest another 5 years, not 4, 5, of my time, of my efforts, into yet another school to be qualified to do this. I came here to go to UK. I came here with just enough to get an apartment. I came here on a wing and a prayer because I knew I wanted to go to UK. UK at that point was my #1 school. Before I set foot into UK, they told me they had no money for me to pursue a PhD as a minority student. I'll say that again. They told me they had no money for me to come here to do a PhD on them. By the time I got here, they found all 100,000 of those dollars so that I could come here and be here and get a PhD from them. I didn't say a bachelor's. I didn't say a master's. I got a PhD from UK and I don't owe them 1 cent. STEM is something that there's not a lot of us doing at all. I'm the only African American in my department that has over 30 plus people. Over 30 plus people. I'm the only African American. African American female at that. I am the youngest in my department. And when I come in with innovation. Anywhere that you go, there's innovation. You could be the best speaker in the world. If you don't have innovation, nobody cares. And I don't mean innovation in terms of Facebook and Twitter. That's social media. That's not innovation. Okay? Challenges in STEM. Let's begin. First thing I experienced going into STEM, and this is all 3 degrees, I felt alone. I was the only African American in my classes, and I wondered, why isn't there somebody like me that I can study with? Why isn't someone like me in this class? Why isn't someone like me teaching this class? Why? Education plays a major role. I wouldn't be able to stand where I stand right now without having to go through my struggles and my very own degrees. I felt alone. But even though I felt alone, I realized, you know what, it's not so bad to be alone. I come up with some of my best ideas when I'm by myself. Some of my most innovative ideas have come from looking in the mirror in my very own bathroom. Innovation. You can get to it with other people, but some of your greatest ideas you may come up with by yourself. This quote says, I think it's very healthy to spend time alone. You need to know how to be alone and not be defined by another person. So as much as I wanted somebody who looked like me, I had to navigate this path so that way I could come and tell you this is what I did. Feeling different because of my race. I am the only African American in my department. If you go on math.eku.edu, you will see that I'm the only one. Okay? We have one African gentleman and we have me. And that's me. Okay? Because of my race, I felt isolated. I felt like I didn't have mentorship. I felt like I didn't have what everyone else had. And because of my race, I felt like I was off in a corner by myself. Your race should not define how high or how low that you'll be in life. But in these different classes, in your bachelor's, your master's, your doctorate, you will begin to see that you are the only one there. That is not a mistake at all. That's just how things happen. I chose to go to UK. I chose to be in all of those classes for 2.5 years, going through dissertation, being the only African American in my classes. Math is very, very slim when it comes to women. Math is even more slim when it comes to minority women. So if math is a track you're trying to go, I can promise you, you will lose a couple friends along the way. I lost a lot of friends going on this track called math. I don't regret it. I don't. Because there's levels in life that you're going to go through, you're going to have to drop some people off on the way. On this level called PhD, I can tell you who I had left. I had my mother, I had my father, I had my sister, and my best friend. That was it. That's how many people you have to drop off. Okay? When you make that announcement on Facebook, I have completed my PhD, you're going to have a whole bunch of likes, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of deletions. Okay? Where you go and where you're successful, the people in your current circle should be successful at all. They should be. I started my PhD program at the same time that my sister did at 2 different schools, 2 very different schools. She started at the University of Memphis, I started at UK. Last Friday, she passed her dissertation defense. She'll be the 2nd doctor in our family. When you're successful, everybody around you should be successful as well. my classes. Well, here's the deal. At EKU, on my floor, I'm just the only one on that floor. I had to make new friends with people who didn't look like me. I had to. Why? Because there's people who don't look like me who have ideas that I can learn and grow from. If I didn't make new friends, I wouldn't have this presentation. This was actually suggested to me by a young lady down the hall, Dr. Embry. And she told me, I think you should go to Tates. I had never been here before. If it hadn't been for me making new friends, I wouldn't even be here having this presentation. You have to come out of your comfort zone. The first step is saying everybody in my friend circle doesn't have to look like me. Most of my colleagues are Caucasian colleagues. I have African American colleagues. I have Indian colleagues. I have Chinese colleagues. Why? Each of those people has something that I can learn from. Each of those people contribute something to the field that I'm in, and I can learn from them. I can even do presentations with them. One of my colleagues, Dr. Thompson, told me about this wonderful conference in Hawaii. I had never heard of it, but I was under the impression that all of these professors took these wonderful conference trips because they wanted to have a getaway. So he told me about it and all the beautiful blue water and how long it took to get there and about his presentation. That was in December, 2 years ago. That was December 2014, and then mentally in my mind, I said, I don't know how much this trip is going to cost, but I'm going to be there next year. So December 2014, when I found out about it, I had a plan. By December 2015, I'm going to have this money. I didn't realize that money was going to be $2,000. Didn't know where the money was going to come from. But I knew that because he went, and he said he had a wonderful time, and he made so many connections that I would be there too. When you're trying to go on any conference trip, it costs money. The goal is wherever you work, you want to do it on them. Okay? Personally, I am cheap. For the most part, I am cheap. Unless it comes to stuff that I really, really love. But when it comes to trips that are $2,000, I want to do it on EKU. So while I was at EKU, I was talking with Dr. Thompson. He was telling me about this resource in the diversity office. I filled out my paperwork. They gave me $1,000. I said, well, I got $1,000 left. Because of being a faculty member at EKU, I got $600 automatic dollars to do whatever I wanted to do with it. Well, that's $1,600. I said, I need about $300. So I went to my supervisor, who had never been to Hawaii himself. And I said, you know, I really want to go to Hawaii, and I need $300. You know he gave me that $300? Do you know that January of this year, I was in Hawaii? Goal setting. Some of your goals, you have to set them a year out. You're going to need time to come up with the money. When you come up with that money, plan to be on those trips. That's called making new friends. Your friends will get you to a level that you yourself can't go by yourself. Because of that dream, I'm starting the same plan again, and in January of next year, I'll be in Hawaii again. Goal setting. Okay? When you make new friends, they can help you to set new goals for yourself, so that you can be in an area that you've never been, places you've never dreamed of. But then, now, you get to reach back and tell somebody else about it. Working in a college setting. This is actually my picture on the website of math.eku.edu. I chose this picture on purpose. That's actually a Photoshop type photo. I actually did a shoot for that. And I chose that picture. Thank you. I chose that picture on purpose. Why? It's professional. It's professional. You notice my arms are not out. There's no dress that's cut off. There's a top photo. That's it. When you're trying to be professional, you keep it professional. What you post on Facebook is not appropriate if you post for a college website. Period. Just not appropriate. I chose that picture on purpose because I knew it was a professional shot. Working in a college setting has been a challenge within itself. Why? Because you're navigating an environment that you haven't been long come out of. I graduated from UK 2 years ago, so now I'm teaching students like you how to do math. But it's the most exciting experience because I get to pick my own schedule. I get to pick the classes I want to teach. I get to decide if I want a large class or a smaller class. I have more flexibility now. Even though the department is in control of what classes they'll give me, I get to pick what I want to days I want to come to work. I get to decide what days I don't want to come to work. Okay? I prefer the Tuesday, Thursday schedule. So I have Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays off. I have an automatic weekend every single week. Okay? I'm off on Wednesdays to do presentations like this because working in the college setting gives me more flexibility than I've ever had before. Also, working in the college setting gives me more time to decide on ways and innovations to teach math. You all are of the generation where I can't sit on the chalkboard for an hour and teach you how to do completing a square. That's not going to happen. I'll teach you how to complete a square, but it won't be in that format. It won't be in that format. The reason why I'm off on certain days, I take classes on instructional technology. Why? I'm looking for different ways, such as this presentation. I'm looking for different ways to bring math to the classroom in an innovative way. This is actually my second time using credit. I've never been officially trained on it, but one of my supervisors told me, you can do it. And I believed her, and I did. Working in a college setting has its own purpose. Don't get me wrong, it has its own set of challenges. When you come into a college setting, this is one thing you have to remember. You have to remember that there's faculty and there's students. There's faculty and there's students. Faculty and students should not mix. Let me say that one more time. There are faculty, there are students. There are faculty and there are students. They should not mix. What does that mean by when I say mix? That means the relationship at all times should always be professional. At all times. That means that as a professor, I don't need the personal cell phone numbers of my students. I don't give them my cell phone numbers at all. You have my email. My email is as good as a phone call. My email goes to my phone. There are clear barriers between me and my students. When it comes to office hours, I meet my students in settings like this. There's 20 other people around. Why? Because in a college setting, it's your word against theirs. And I love my job. And because I love my job, I meet with my students in places where they are around other students. Therefore, I am protecting myself and that student as well. Dispelling the angry black woman myth. Dispelling the angry black woman myth. Remember I said I'm the only one in my department, so immediately when I came in, is she mad? Is she okay? She's moving stuff around. Is everything all right? Did she encounter something? Could she have burned up somebody's car today? We don't know. Dispelling the angry black woman myth. How do you dispel it? One, you come in like everybody else. You walk in, you be professional. Am I like this every day? No. I dress like you do. I want my students to be approachable to me, so I try not to dress in a way that would be more standoffish. So when I dress in the jeans and the top or a sweater, students are more able to say, hey, Dr. Davis, I got a question. Or, hey, I have this discussion. Or, what do you think about this? Sometimes after tutoring, I talk with students on reality shows. That's where they are. That's what I happen to watch. That's a conversation piece, okay? I find different ways to connect with students, but I'm not an angry black woman, okay? Even though that's what's seen on reality shows, even though that's what's seen in the media, even though Angela Bassett did burn up that car. Yes, she did. That is not me. That is not me, okay? When you come into any environment, do not give them a reason to label you. You're already coming in as a minority. That's label enough. Come in and rise above that label and say, you know what, I'm a researcher. Yeah, I've been to Hawaii. And I'm going to this conference and that conference and this conference and that conference, and I'm doing this presentation. And I have a website, and you should check it out. Look at the environment. Look at how other people respond. You respond in the same similar way. Okay? Dispelling the angry black woman myth. Do not act just like what you see on reality shows. You will not last long in college doing that. Be different. You can be. Why wouldn't you want to be? Creating my own name, as you see on the side. First Lady Michelle Obama. I can imagine that when her parents raised her, they had no idea that they were raising the future First Lady. What prepared her for that? Her education. She went and got degrees from Ivy League schools so that she could come into the presidency, because technically it was a dual presidency. Most people don't know that. Even though you saw her husband, President Obama, she's in the background. advising him. Okay? If she did not have the education that she needed to have, she would not have been able to advise her husband on the presidency. They would not have been able to have 8 years, no affairs, no cheating, nothing. That was the ship that she put together. Okay? Creating your own name. How do you create your own name? I realized that I was in math, but I had to create something that worked for me while I was sleeping. I had to create something that worked for me while I was sleeping. So I decided I was going to write some books. I am the copyright holder of the Lessons on Church Folk Secrets. I wrote it, I paid money to get the copyright, and it's mine. So when I'm sleeping, you could go on Amazon and you could buy my book, and it's actually making money. There are actually 4 different books. Even though you have a career, you need to have something else that's making money. Why? You may decide one day you may not want to teach. You need to have something that's residual, that's already working for you. I attend conferences at least 4 to 5 times a year, which means some of them are here. Sometimes I do have to travel. Some of that travel comes out of my pocket. So that means as much as I love Jordan shoes, as much as I love hats and high heel shoes, some of that I have to curb because I have to pay for those conferences. Some of those conferences are $1,000 off the top. That's the baseline. And I have to pay for that. Mentoring minority students. I'm a part of the Freshman Academy at EKU, and this semester I have 4 freshmen that I'm mentoring, working with them, going to classes, college study, preparing for your career, navigating relationships on campus, and of course, please do not get pregnant. That's not what college is about. That's not what college is about. Freshman year, off the top, that's the main goal, to get your education. If you happen to get pregnant freshman year, something went wrong. Okay? Be focused. When you go to college, you are one of very few students who got a spot into this particular college. Colleges do have spots. You either get in or you don't. UK, when I went to UK, it was a spot that I wanted. I waited until 2 weeks before school started to actually get that spot. I knew I wanted my PhD to come from UK. Creating my research. I had to decide, what do I want to discuss? What do I want to talk about? So since I'm in the math field, I do math research. I do a lot of research on minority students. I do research on online success. Do students like online classes? Do they not? How can we make them more successful? Also in creating my own research, I extend my bounds outside of mathematics. Right now I'm doing the final draft for a culture and evolution of hip-hop class at EKU. I'm in the final draft stage and I'm waiting to hear back if they will love this idea called hip-hop. Now granted, I still have boundaries that I have to stay within. There's certain music that I cannot play in my class because this is an academic setting. So I have to pick and choose music that will work and music that won't work. Okay? Being a person of integrity. Here's the deal. If you see me today and I'm in a suit, but you see me tomorrow walking in almost nothing on Broadway, that's not integrity. That's not integrity. Because day or night, I should be the same person. Okay? Integrity means that what you see in the daytime is what you'll see at night. That means that when I say, hey, I'm going to come to do a presentation, I'm actually going to be here. This presentation was scheduled to be here at 10:30. I was here 10:15. Okay? When you're asked to do something, be early. Why did I start out early? I had a fear of getting lost. And I did. But because I started early, I got here on time. When it comes to you being in any type of field, be a person of integrity. I can just about guarantee you that after the presidency, President Obama and his wife can pick just about any job and they will get hired. You want to know why? Integrity. Integrity makes a huge difference in how people decide to hire or fire. Making informed choices. The choices that I make for life, I have to navigate it appropriately. I have to have time to go to sleep. I have to have time to go to sleep, which means I can't book myself all the way up to 9 p.m. every single night. I can't. I can't book every evening. scheduled every off day. But if I schedule it appropriately, I can get everything in. Making informed choices is what has helped Ms. Obama become the first lady. Questions? Questions that you have on STEM, questions that you have on this presentation, questions that you have for me being educated.
What's the suggestions you would give to students who feel that they struggle in math? What are tips in high school? They're all in 9th through 12th grade, and they all take math classes. Do y'all love your math classes?
No.
Okay. So what can we do as a staff? What can they do as students to be successful? Because I think they can be.
Number one, I would recommend, first of all, focus. When you're in class, put your phones away. Put your phones away, put your computers away. What's being presented on the board is what you actually have to learn. If you don't learn it here, you will be in my class at EKU, taking a course called 090 or 095, and you won't get credit for it. You will not get credit for it, okay? First of all, you need to decide on how much time you want to spend with your friends, and you need to curb some of that, especially if you have issues with math. You may need to adopt a plan that I did. You may need to come in a little bit early to school and get that math training where there's no distractions. You may need to stay after school so that you can get the help. Because my main goal when I come to do presentations like this, I want to encourage students to bypass those 090 and 095 classes. It takes far too long to get out of it. If you learn it here, you can test out of it at EKU or any other university, and that way you can go into introductory math. So focus. Curb your time with your friends. Put your phones away. You don't need them. You don't need them. There's nobody that needs to talk to you during school. Set aside time to get this math. I teach students just like you in the summer, coming out of high school, 12th grade. They're having to take 090 and 095. Granted, I get paid for it. I get paid to teach it. But here's the deal. If you don't pass it within those first 4 blocks, which is 16 weeks, you take it again. And then you take it again. And then you take it again until you finish. So the bad part is, we get that money. You're losing money. Because now you haven't accomplished what you set out to do. Other questions? Other questions?
Explain to them what type of careers you can have in STEM, in the STEM field.
Oh my. You can become a researcher. You can become a professor. You can own your own business. You can start your own tutoring service. You can do a whole lot of things. I've chosen to extend my reach in teaching. There are times when I teach for a school or more than one school. Why? Because I love teaching so much. But you may decide, I love research. There's a lot of places that will hire you to do research in your off time. You may not have to do it full time. They may pay you to do that research. They may pay you to go present it at somebody's conference. There's a lot that you can do with STEM. For science, there's a lot you can do with biology, chemistry, geology. You can even go into medical school as an offshoot in science. Technology, at Eastern we have instructional designers. Those instructional designers create my course. I don't create it on my own. They create it for me. They copy everything from the previous semester, and they make sure I have what I need in order to make it successful. I go over to their area, and I create videos so that students like you can watch them. Engineering, that particular field is wide open. You can be any type of engineer that you like. Biomedical, petroleum engineer. Any kind of engineer that you would like to be, you can be. And of course, mathematics. There's tons that you can do with math. You can definitely do research. You can teach it. You can go, you can tutor people privately if you like. But STEM is so wide open right now, especially for minority students, that it would be a shame if you did not have the skills to get in it and stay in it and be successful. Other questions?
Are there any internship opportunities for them at EKU as far as STEM?
There are some internship opportunities. I would check the biology and chemistry department. They have a lot of stuff that they do in the summer. We also have STEM H Institute that we do. There's a lot of different opportunities at EKU, but there's even more opportunities at UK. Since it's local, I know that they do have labs. They do have a STEM camp that I actually actually volunteered at this past summer. So think about STEM Camp, because they've had so many different innovations that you all can use even now in ninth grade. Other questions?
What types of scholarships are at EKU currently in terms of the STEM majors?
Currently, we have few. We have very few. My college just split into the College of Science, so we're in the process of building up those scholarships and things of that nature. We do have a few, but it is grades-based. It's also based on ACT, it's based on GPA. The greatest scholarship